you have two family members with obesity, your risk factor is about 70%. So it's time for us to put an end to the eat less, move more movement. Yes, lifestyle changes such as physical activities and healthy living can contribute to about 5 to 10% of weight loss. If all of us, the society, if we stop this weight bias and stigma out there where we look at people and point fingers,
Mm-hmm.
and us in healthcare, if we look into our intrinsic bias and say, if
Mm-hmm.
I say this person, I'm not going to point fingers at them. Everybody is fighting a battle.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Healthy and Uplifted webinar. My name is Dr. Azuma. Today, we're talking about empowering moms using the triad of health. You're going to understand what the triad of health means. I'm your host, Dr. Vera Azuma. We have speakers from all walks of life. And today, we're going to have 2 or 3 experts here talking about one of the triad of health. So let's get started. Did you know your ideal body weight is typically the weight you weighed when you were in your teens, or not teens, in your 20s? Dr. Yvonne Kango, MD, MPH, CCF, ABOM. She's a clinical lecturer at the Department of Family Medicine, University of Calgary. She's also the Associate Medical Director at Mosaic Primary Care Network. She specializes in family and obesity medicine. She's a physician at the Cedar Town Medical Clinic. She is also a co-founder of KFS Barbecue Smokehouse and Market. She's also an international speaker, certified transformational coach, and author. Her latest book is What's Obesity Got to Do with It? I also have that book right here. Very good book. Most of my content will be referenced through this book. Okay. All right. So Yvonne, your book was used here as the reference. I was telling Dr. Uwochi, Yvonne, I call her, that this book was very well written. And again, it's not because you're here and you're my friend. It's because it was well written. I was able to
Thank you.
get the definition of obesity. I was able to get the risk factors of obesity. I was able to get how to prevent it. It's just condensed. It's just perfect, to be honest. So talk to me a little bit. You listed some conditions that the causes of obesity. Can you touch on like the genetics part of it, Yvonne?
Yeah, sure. So, if you have two family members with obesity, your risk factor is about 70%. So, it's time for us to put an end to the eat less, move more movement. Yes, lifestyle changes such as physical activities and healthy living can contribute to about 5 to 10% of weight loss. Oh, so, but then when you have that higher risk factors like genetics, and that's when we say we're going to use a holistic approach by using the 4 pillars of obesity, which is physical activity, healthy eating, and then we also use the psychological approach. And then there's medications that are also, they've done lots of research that helps with weight management or weight loss. And not only that, so policymakers, we also have to look at all those things. Everything comes into factors like social determinants of health. If you're in a low socioeconomic status, you can have access to all those healthy meals, or you can also have access to, let's say, environments where you can go for walks. And if you also grow up in an environment where food is used as a reward, whereby if there's a party, there's also excessive amount of food, that also can contribute to weight management because if you or weight gain, because if you find yourself in an environment where people keep pushing food at you, eat, right? Then your risk also you get predisposed to obesity. In Cameroon, for example, or in some African countries, if when you get married, you have to feed your husband. And so when that happens, then they gain weight. Or the husband thinks that by taking care of you, they have to provide all what you ask for, or then excessive amount of food. That will also lead to obesity. So lots and lots of things, and also sometimes in schools, sometimes in some schools, they have some policies whereby people are not provided healthy meals. They have fun lunch, like in Cameroon, or sorry, in some places in Canada, they have fun lunch, and when they have those fun lunches, what do they provide? It's junk. Subway, McDonald's, name it. So those are just some of the causes of obesity.
Wow.
Well, thank you so much for listing that. Dr. Yvonne, can you touch on the benefit of exercising? And then we will come up with more tangible goals on how to remain on that course of weight loss or of exercising. Yvonne.
Yeah, sure. So exercise is not only good for the body, but it's also good for the mental health. You mentioned it rightly, Dr. Zuma. Your body releases endorphins. And that's the feel-good hormone. And so when you get that release, your overall health, you feel better during the day. You're more productive. It helps decrease anxiety, depression. It also helps with your concentration. Therefore, you're more productive. And then you can make those right decisions about, even as it might look as it's simple for you to think of the right food to eat. But when you're stressed out, it's very difficult. When you're stressed out, you reach out to the easiest thing around you. When you're tired, you reach out. Whatever you grab, you grab. But then when you exercise, you have that overall feeling of well-being. And then you
Yes.
can make those choices. Then now you can reduce all those other metabolic syndrome or any other diseases that comes with it, medical conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure and all of that. When you exercise, your blood pressure also goes down, right? Your sugar
Yes.
level, too, all of that, they go down. So there's so many benefits, right? Somebody who doesn't exercise, the body is in a state of stress. And when the body is in a state of stress, the body releases like cortisols, all the stress hormones, and all that's like a virtuous cycle. And then that leads to obesity, which obesity is the root cause of all the other medical conditions that comes with it, like diabetes and high blood pressure. So if I could say anything to anyone is exercise, start, even if it's moving 10 minutes a day. I say lifestyle changes, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. You just have to do those habits bit by bit and you get there. And you are on your own tangent. Like you can't do the same with anyone else. You just go with the flow, go with your body the way you feel, but also have that accountability partner who can hold you up to it and say, okay, today you exercise 10 minutes. Let's try tomorrow and move to 15 minutes. Just move. Just keep moving. Sitting is the new smoking. So, like we're just forming, there's this obesogenic society that's being created every day because we don't move. So let's keep moving bit by bit, even if it's sitting on your chair and moving your arm or something, because some people have chronic medical conditions, and we can't just expect all of them to get on a skipping rope and skip, as some of us like doing. Just move. Whatever it is, just move one body part or another, and you will get all the health benefits that comes with it. Thank you.
Wow, that is so awesome. Yeah, that's so awesome. So, Dr. Yvonne, what motivated you to write that book? To write this book? What's obesity
Oh,
got to
yes.
do with it?
So what motivated me was, I would call it a SC. I had someone in my practice who was just 32 years old with obesity. BMI was around 40 with increased vaginal bleeding. She's been going from one doctor to another, and she was being told the same thing: lose weight. But no one gave her the tools on what she needed to do to lose weight. Everybody was pointing fingers at her without looking back in her genetics to see, was there any genetic predisposition that she had. And finally, with time, she came to my practice after 5 years of non-stop vaginal bleeding. And no one also had the guts. No one, or maybe, I don't know if I would say they didn't feel comfortable to do a pap test. Just because they say, oh, it's very hard to do. People always say it's very hard to do pap tests for people with obesity. It's kind of challenging. But we are all made differently, right? Yes, if you have obesity, we should stop pointing fingers. So she came to me and I said, listen, let's try to see why this is happening. She's like, oh, they've done everything. They've said, oh, it's my weight. I need to lose weight. And I said, okay, let's try and do a pap test. She said, oh, lots of people have tried and they say it's very difficult. I said, okay, just give me a chance. And so I tried. I did a pap test. And lo and behold, she had cervical cancer plus uterine cancer. And all of those uterine cancer, it's like a risk factor also for obesity. And so finally, what happened? She was already stage 3 and she ended up passing before she turned 38. So I was very struck at that. That really got into me because I said, if all of us, the society, if we stop this weight bias and stigma out there where we look at people and point fingers, and us in healthcare, if we look into our intrinsic bias and say, if I say this person, I'm not going to point fingers at them. Everybody is fighting a battle. Let's have an individualized approach to everyone we see in a practice and just take that step back and say, I'm not going to judge this person. I'm going to take them for who they are and I'm going to support them. This would have been prevented. So all this came from SC, and I don't want anybody to go down that path just because of our own internal intrinsic bias. And, yes.
Wow. Thank you so much for your work. Again, Dr. Yvonne does not practice in Cameroon, where she was born. She practices in Canada. So this situation, this case study she just presented was in a first world country. She states a lady with a BMI of 40 something was complaining of just bleeding, irregular bleeding, and no one could do a pap smear on her. Basically no one tried because of their biases, and she died. She died a preventative death. So really, obesity is a chronic condition that we need to take seriously because that lady's death could have been prevented. With that said, everyone here, we're not underweight. We're not saying that people should become skinny, because it seems the genetic predisposition of people with melanin tends to be different. We are mostly not very, very skinny, especially places where there's plenty of food. We are like so the question here, ladies, is are we saying that people should become underweight when we're talking about obesity prevention? What are we saying? Dr. Uwochi, what are we saying?
Well, just growing up in the West, I have noticed that was the idea of what beauty looked like. And I don't think that anyone is saying that we should be underweight, because I understand, not being a medical doctor, it's not good to be underweight as well. I believe that there's a scale that gives you what is your healthy weight. And that's what I always look at. For my age is 50. I look at, where I should be at 5'2", about how much I should weigh. And I go between the middle of that. So I don't think because when we start telling people and start to try to convince people to be underweight, as you know, I'm in education, I would never want to tell my girls that we want them underweight or skinny.
Right.
We want them healthy. And so that's why I say put down the Takis and put down the Cheetos and get back. Because I don't want to body shame anyone, but I do want, especially Black girls, because majority of my school are Black girls. And we are shaped a different way. I do want to make sure that the things and their health is seriously considered, and that we stop doing things that are unhealthy and get what is healthy for our body. So a size 6 may not be healthy for someone that's 5'6", but it may be healthy for someone that's 5'2" and have a certain body shape. So I think we have to consider all of that when we're talking about weight.
Awesome. Thank you. Dr. Kelechi, chime in. What is our goal here? We're not talking about body shaming. We're talking about healthy weight. So tell us more, because I'm not skinny, but I'm not obese. Go ahead.
I think you mentioned in the introduction, your healthiest weight was what it was in your 20s. And I definitely like Dr. Yvonne chime in on what that healthy weight should be. BMI is can be very inaccurate in our communities, right? So it's very important. Yes, we can start there. It is what the standard is. It's not the perfect tool, but it's a starting place. And I feel that the essence is optimal health, right? It's optimal health and well-being. It's not about being thin. And definitely, society has made it appear as if thin is healthy. There's a lot of thin models, and they're very unhealthy and they're very sick, right? And that is definitely not the model where we want people to go and look anorexic and look want to say, check in with your primary care physician, determine what the best weight that makes you have to be healthy. Make sure your cholesterol is in good control. Make sure your blood sugar is in good control. Make sure your thyroid is at a good level. So those are some of the biomarkers. If you want to go deeper into what I do, which is functional medicine, which is a holistic approach, make sure your CRP, those inflammatory markers are also under control. So it's about looking at the biomarkers, looking at your family history, looking at and helping you to get to the place where you are really experiencing the best health. So, so those biomarkers can definitely help to ascertain that as on your journey to being your best weight. So it's not about being thin. It's not about being thin like a supermodel. It's really about understanding what your best weight is for your best health.
Thank you. So, Dr. Yvonne, what is our best weight? Can you give us a quick breakdown?
Yeah, no, Dr. Kalechi just said it all. So BMI, especially in us Black, so African Americans, for me, I'm obese. If I go by BMI, then I would look at back and say I've been obese all my life because I've always had a high BMI. It's just looking at all those the markers. Are you living your best weight is finding yourself in the condition where you don't have all those comorbidities that come with obesity, which is diabetes and high blood pressure or sleep apnea, or some would have polycystic ovarian syndrome, as you know, Dr. Berry. So just finding that balance whereby you're living a life where you enjoy everything that comes with it without having any chronic medical condition. And BMI, I always say, is just a group of people who sat in a room one day and came up with something that they can use. But then there's also the body composition, because we are all made different genetically. And so you have to look at this person in front of you holistically, not just based on that number on the scale. Then it's just a number on the scale, but it guides us towards what to look for. There's also the weight circumference, right? The weight circumference. So, and it varies from ethnicity or from one part to the other. So people from Asian descent, let's say from China and all those other environments, they have a lower BMI, but then because of that, they are also, let me give an example to make it easier. I might have a BMI of 32 in the range of obesity, but someone, let's say in China, might have a BMI of like 28, for example. They are now going towards the range of obesity. So it's an individualized approach based on our ethnicity and also our background. So it's just looking at that person and making sure they are not predisposed to medical condition, whereby they have a weight and they have a size that they can enjoy life as they go. So not only focusing on that number on the scale, but a holistic approach.
Wow, I love the fact that you talked. I love the fact that you talk about a holistic and individualized approach, considering your genetics and where you come from. Again, it is very important, even to all those listening to us. It's very important that people don't label all Black people that have some meat on their body as obese, right? We have to consider the comorbidity and what they do. Do they exercise every day? Do they have, do they have diabetes? Do they have high blood pressure? There's a lot of things to consider so that we don't shame a group of people. Yeah. So the next thing is, what should we be eating? Because when I talk about a healthy weight, a healthy triad, I become guilty when I'm eating cookies or something sweet. So can Kelechi touch upon that? Is it okay to eat some sugar sometimes without feeling guilty, especially those of us that want to begin or continue a healthy weight? Thank you.
Absolutely. Everything in moderation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you can't eat cookies and sugar all day. You know? So it's about keeping it, I like to talk about a healthy plate.
Mhm.
A healthy plate is 50% of vegetables, mixed vegetables, different colors. That gets you all your phytonutrients, right? And that's really important because right there, that's the harvest, right? That's what God gave us to be healthy. It's going to fight all kinds of diseases, it's going to fight all kinds of cancers. So a healthy plate looks like a plate that's half of it is multicolored vegetables. Okay. We need that fiber, we need those nutrients. Then the rest of that half of the plate should be, protein, right?
Mm.
And then the other quarter of the plate should be your whole grain healthy starch. Okay.
Mm.
And then on the side in the corner is a little treat. That is okay.
Mm.
So it's not half of your plate is white rice and white pasta. Right? Because that's also sugar. It's not drinking 3 glasses of alcohol with your meal. That's also sugar. So it's about having a balanced meal, and having a treat is okay. But what we tend to see, and I'll allow my colleagues to elaborate on that, is we see that the disproportional amounts of nutrients in the wrong categories, and that's what leads to the excess healthy weight. And then we don't also move, right, enough to counteract those additional calories. So guess what? It sits with us. It doesn't go anywhere. We're not, like they said, sitting is the new smoking. We're not moving, especially post-pandemic. During the pandemic, we weren't moving as much, but we were consuming more because mental health got in the way as well. So it becomes this vicious cycle. So it's so important, just to summarize, to follow that healthy plate approach during your mealtime, and definitely a treat here and there once in a while is okay. Thank you.
Now, what I did notice is that when my trainer gave me the meal plan, I had protein, mostly protein, but then I had carbs, I had vegetables, and then every now and then I was given the opportunity to eat a treat and she said in moderation. So there was no starving or anything like that. Now, as I said in the beginning, I continue to eat my typical Nigerian food. My diet, I make sure that I eat what I like, because I feel that anything that is forced, it doesn't last long. And so I make sure that for me, I eat everything I want to eat, but I also make sure at 5 o'clock that I'm up and I'm on the treadmill, or I have my kettlebell and I'm doing squats. I'm doing what is necessary to get the calories in, calories out. I also do not eat after a certain time of night, because I noticed that it was affecting my sleeping. So I would just say that eat what you eat, as the doctor said. Dr. Kelechi said, eat, but do everything in moderation. Everything in moderation.
Thank you so much. So what you're saying, Dr. Kelechi, is do not eat sweets every day, because the kind of work we do could be mentally challenging. And to me, when I'm at work, that's when I want to eat a lot of sweets. I mean, it's gonna be hard. It's either I eat the sweet and be cheerful and smiley, or I don't eat it and be grumpy.
Well, it's not just you. Yeah, it's not just you. And I think what we need to remember, and how I cancel my clients, is that we're craving because we're missing something. That's the reason you're craving the sugar and those quick fix, because your body's missing something else. So it has to grab something quick to keep you going. But when you have a balanced meal, you have less cravings, because your body has the nutrition it needs, where it's not your body. There's a gut-brain reaction. It's a gut-brain, always gut-brain, right? So if there's an imbalance in your gut flora, it's going to crave certain things, right? There's an imbalance in your gut flora. Your hormones are changing, which means your brain is going to get different messages. Most of those hormones are created in your gut. So it's just don't feel bad. Just know that something is missing.
My
There's
sister,
something missing.
nothing is missing in my diet.
No, nutritionally.
No,
Nutritionally.
I take some salmon,
Not you.
some vegetables, like little. No, something is not
It's
missing.
available, but it's missing somewhere.
Something is
Oh,
not
yeah.
missing.
Available and missing is different, right? It's available.
It's
You
not
know, I
missing.
know your pantry. I've seen your pantry. Okay.
No. To be honest, we are stressed out. Like all of us are stressed out,
Yes.
and that's why I like the transparency here
Yes.
amongst all of us. And it's
Mhm.
hard to avoid sugar. So can someone, Dr. Yvonne, talk about why when we are stressed we want to grab sugar? I mean, again, this
Mhm.
webinar is for me. I'm just sharing it with the audience. It's for me because I want to change my lifestyle. And so I'm asking for help with these three wonderful women who are masterminding with me. So this is a live mastermind with Dr. Azuma. So Dr. Yvonne, tell me, why is it that we grab sugar when
Don't tell her because she doesn't have it available. Oh, she's missing something.
Oh, boy. You know, that's body's natural mechanism because with sugar you feel good, right? It just gives you that high, right? You know, when you have sugar, it gives you the high. You know, insulin is released from the body, it breaks it down and it provides energy faster as opposed to protein. So that's why you're gonna grab that first and eat, then you feel good so fast. As opposed to waiting and grabbing a piece of, let's say, beans or something for protein, and that will take time to give you that quick fix, right? So that's why you reach out to that. And I'm also going to add, talking about the subject of how we can maintain this healthy lifestyle. In my book on page 103, there was a study that was from the National Weight Control Study. It's a research study that seeks to gather information from people who have successfully lost weight and kept it off. So it's for anyone who's about 18 years of age and older. And most of those people in that study, they had lost at least 30 pounds, which is amazing. And they maintained it, the weight loss of at least 30 pounds over 1 year or more. And what did they find? They found that most of these people maintain a low calorie, low fat diet, and also were doing high level of activities. 78% of them ate breakfast every day. 75% of them weigh themselves at least once a week. 62% of them watch less than 10 hours of television per week. And 90% exercise on average 1 hour per day. And the most common exercise in both men and women were walking, resistance training. And yeah, so those are just some of the things. So if they've carried the study for a while, so what happens sometimes is we get so busy and then we're like, we're going to skip breakfast, you're going to skip this. And then you come back home, you're tired. And what do you reach for? A bag of chips, and you sit down and you watch TV. And in your brain, you're like, I have had a hard day. It's time to relax. Relax with a bag of chips. So if we find ourselves in that condition, what would we do? We just carry a little bowl. We try to eat our meal first. Then you just carry yourself just a little bowl of the popcorn and say, this is what I'm going to have. It's easier said than done. But when you've already eaten something, you will not eat as much because your body is already full. And water intake is also very important. A lot of people don't drink water because you're at work, especially for healthcare professionals. You're like, I'm not going to be running back and forth to the washroom. It's okay. You know, it's okay to take care of you. When you get on the plane, what do they say? In case of an emergency, put your mask first.
Yes.
So fill your cup first. Take care of you first. If you're able to take care of you, then you're able to give out to others. You cannot pour out of an empty cup. Thank you.
Wow.
Wow.
I love the cliche that you cannot pour out of an empty cup. Sorry to say, I do pour out from an empty cup. You know, and I'm here to mastermind. I'm not here to go with cliches. And I understand what you're saying. It's just, I feel like exactly we cannot continuously, chronically pour out from an empty cup. Something is going to give.
Exactly.
Yes. So you're absolutely right. And I feel like this year is my year of becoming healthier. I feel like the Lord has put it in my mind, and I'm thankful. I'm grateful for you all. I'm going to try my best to do better. Like Dr. Kelechi said, I'm going to keep us my accountability partner in terms of exercising and prioritizing that on my to-do list. I don't know why. It's just hard. So anyone listening to me here that feels like, oh my goodness, it's hard to exercise, you're not alone. Ladies, we're going to end this segment shortly. Thank you again for being here. But can I propose something? Let's come back in April, all of us, 4 of us, and see if we've all made progress. I'm going to try. Ooh, should I say this? Okay.
Do it.
I'm going to try to lose 10 pounds by the time I come back in April. I'm going to try and exercise once a week by the time I come back in April. So each of us go around and make a pledge on what we're going to do. Ada, in the background, write down what we're saying, please. So we're going to come back and see if we made it. I think we can.
Yes.
I think we can. So, Dr. Wochi, your turn. What are you going to pledge to do?
I am going to pledge to stop eating when I am full and not feel that I have to clean my plate all the time.
Awesome. Thank you. And Ada, please write that down. Yvonne, what are you going to do?
I'm going to pledge to exercise at least 4 days a week, minimum 30 minutes, not including the steps that I make at work.
Awesome. Ada, please take note of it. Kelechi, go ahead. What's your pledge?
Well, I'm going to pledge to match you with your 10 pounds weight loss because we're going to do this together. Yay. And I'm going to pledge the high intensity training that I recommend to my clients. I want to, not just do what I say, but do what I do as well. Lead it by example. And I tell them at least 40 minutes twice a week, high intensity, 40 minutes twice a week. So that's going to be, 2, upper body exercises, 3 upper body exercises, 3 core exercises, 3 lower extremity exercises, right? And then in between, you do 6 to 8 minutes of, running in place or walking or jogging, some cardio. So it's physical it's weight training, it's resistance training and cardio. The research has shown when you mix it up, it's not boring and you get more out of the time, right? So it's 3 upper, 3 lower, 3 gut, right? And then 6 to 8 minutes, or just make it 10 minutes of something cardio 3 times. So that 40 minutes, you get a lot of impact in 40 minutes. And then do that twice a week and then match you with that 10-pound weight loss. That's my pledge by April.
Wow. So, okay, we are going to set the date in April, and it's going to be accountability follow-up, okay? So that's what we're going to do. With that said, I want to thank everyone for coming.